Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm here to do the May Gorjuss art layout and I've chosen this beautiful little girl. She is Stamp number 45 Fly Away With Me, and I chose her because I'm pretty much in this mood today. I have been stargazing at least recently. We're following the lunar calendar, so we're waiting for the new moon of May. Yeah, I'm always fascinated with the sky. I love cloud gazing and I love stars and I love the moon. So I'm in a bit of a watercolor galaxy mood, and I think that this beautiful girl is just the one for May. So this is her. Look how little she is, and I already stamped her out, and look how even littler she is stamped out. So I decided to separate the balloon from her because that would just be too painful. And I was just going to draw a little line, and then there's her little balloon. So yeah, stay tuned for this art layout, which hopefully will be a beautiful galaxy one. I've decided to use my Dina Wakley Media scribble sticks because I think that the night, I'm going to use a combination of the black scribble stick and the night scribble stick. And I'm thinking also the turquoise, and I'm thinking also the blackberry. So I am hoping for a beautiful, relaxing session now of watercolor and a little bit of Gorjuss too. So stay tuned. I am going to start with Distress Watercolor cardstock from Ranger. Although the little mini book that I made is made of watercolor, this is heavier watercolor, and I didn't want it to buckle under the pressure of all the water that I was going to use with this technique. The card is small enough to fit inside. I will have to do some trimming. I also thought to myself that I should maybe make a little bit of a border using this thin washi. It didn't turn out to be such a good idea in the end, as you will soon see. So I'm just adding a little thin strip here. Then what I'm going to do is tape this heavy cardstock to like the back of one of the watercolor boards, just so that the page remains straight and it doesn't buckle. I'm now grabbing a few paint brushes. I'm using my number 2 liner. I've also grabbed the number 6 round and the number 8 round. I did think that I might need the 12, but I put it back, but I do end up using it because I just never know whether I need an 8 or a 12. I start off little, but then I realize that I do need the bigger one. I'm just setting myself up here now. I'm grabbing a flat brush. I've got my watercolor there. I've got just a clean rag at the bottom there so that I can soak up any of the drips. So I am going to start with the light turquoise. I'm going to make it so that the center is the lightest, and from the inside out it's going to get dark. And I am just touching my wet brush to the turquoise stick and then letting the color diffuse once it hits the wet cardstock. I'm very cautious here. This blackberry is a really strong color, and I'm scared that if I put it down it's just going to overpower the turquoise, so I am splattering it around. I'm putting it around the edges here because I know that that's going to have the blue, so I know that it can mix there. It's not going to interfere too much. By this stage, the paper had already started drying, so I added a little bit more so that it can continue to diffuse towards the outside, but I added a little bit too much, so I will soak it up in a minute. Here I am. I'm really worried about the blue mixing with the beautiful color in the middle there. So I'm starting off just splattering it, and then I'm going to start adding it. Here I realize that the brush that I'm using is too small,
And I'm also being really cautious. I can see myself being cautious, and I remember thinking, don't stuff it up, don't stuff it up. So, but definitely looking at myself working here, that brush is too small. Now, the trick here, I feel like I lost a little bit of the turquoise. The trick here is to get a lot of color and not just water. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the water to the stick, but not allowing the pigment to come off the stick enough before I put it down. So the water is just pushing everything off on the page. So it's really important to work that stick into a really good pigment before you put it down. I feel like I'm losing the blue, so I go back and put some of the night down. And definitely my brush is too small here because all it's doing is leaving little marks and they're not blending too well into the background. And I'm going to remedy that in a minute. Alright, so I'm trying again with the turquoise, sorry. I'm just adding a little bit more color in and around that blue. And then what I start doing here is just splattering the blue on top and trying to mix it with that night color. And I actually like how that blends together without the paintbrush having to touch anything or do any work. It's just letting the water and the color mix and do its thing. Here we go. So I reach for this paintbrush, and this is a size 14, and it's actually, I don't think I could find my 12, and so I thought the 14 will be all right. I'll do as little touching as possible to the paper and let the paint do itself. So what I'm doing is I'm adding enough water to create a nice pigment and then putting it around the outside. And you can see where there's not enough pigment, it kind of looks grayish. And then I am just tilting my board and letting the colors mix and the water do its thing. The important thing here is that your paper has to be wet so that it blends well. Otherwise, you'll just have these lines that just don't look like they're blended. I'm going back in now and adding more pigment and allowing that whole process of osmosis from high concentration to low concentration to do its own thing. And you'll see now, I'm going to do a little bit of spattering because I kind of quite like that fine black spatter in the middle. It kind of makes the whole piece cohesive. And then I'm going to tilt my cardboard one more time and let that blend on its own. And it looks really organic. There are no brush strokes or paint strokes. I really like how it feels like you just got through a dark patch and it's opening into a beautiful galaxy sky. I'm going back in now and just trying to add a little bit more interest. I'm going to go for each of the colors with my liner number 2, and I'm just going to create some spatter here. And I want it to go over everything. I want the blue to go over the black and the purple. I want the purple to go over the black and the blue. And then I do go back in with the turquoise to add a little bit of that as well. So it just looks like a noise of galaxy over that whole piece. Sometimes I tap the crayon and sometimes I tap the paintbrush. Sometimes I feel like if I tap the crayon, I might break its integrity so that later on it might break in half. You know, like when you drop a pencil and then you sharpen it and then it kind of breaks off and you're not sure why. I think it's because the lead has broken down in there because it's been thrown around the room. So I kind of try not to tap on the crayon anymore. I'm now grabbing my white gel pen. I try to do a few stars here, but I don't think it's really effective. So I just do a few here, and then I go back to the Dina Wakley white crayon, and I just do a whole lot of splattering, which ends up really good. So what I'm doing here is I'm just wetting the tip, and I'm thinking of just doing little splatters. Like, I'm being really careful once again. I realize that I was really scared of stuffing it up, and I'm very conscious that I'm recording myself and doing it for my followers, not just for myself. So I'm being very meticulous and really careful, and it's just not working. And you're gonna see in a minute, I'm just gonna go for it, and it's just gonna splatter everywhere, and it actually looks really good. Like, when I'm more carefree, I get really good results, as opposed to when I'm being really careful and really aware of not stuffing things up. So this has been a really good exercise for me to just do it. Just let it go, and you'll never know how good it can be if you don't just have the courage to go ahead and do what needs to be done. So with this white dust, it just looks so cosmically amazing. I love how the whole background looks. And then I realized that that's right, I'm doing a Gorjuss spread. I'm not just doing a watercolor piece. So I'm removing the washi here, and I've got to get it back into my book. So I'm going to start trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it. So I take a little bit off the top, and I take too much off the top, and then I take a little bit off the side, and then I realize that I should just go all the way, take the sides off. And I like how it went all the way to the edge there. Like, so I realized that it is gonna be mounted in a book, but it looks like there's a white edge around the galaxy that doesn't belong there. So what I'm gonna do is just pull out my black, and I'm just gonna fill the edge of the Ranger watercolor paper, and then it'll look a whole lot better than it does at the moment. It doesn't affect you guys at all because you don't have the book in front of you, but for me, I can see that there's a line where it doesn't need to be. I'm then going back in and then going to blend it so that there's no harsh line. Alrighty, so that looks really good, and I'm gonna bring the little girl in now. Doesn't she look absolutely amazing? I wish somehow that I could put just that stamp right in, like if she was an embellishment. But anyway, so I colored her in, and I went for a pink. I thought it'd be lovely to do a pink dress and a blue stockings. And I'm going to show you how easy or how quickly I colored her in. I went for my alcohol markers, and I just did a quick two-step shade, so the overall color and then a darker color on the outside, and it was like a 2-minute thing. Seriously, I did not spend any time coloring her, so you didn't miss out on much. Next, I want to show you this. I bought this mini stencil stars, moon and stars, or moons and stars, I think, from Kaisercraft, and like I said, I've been totally stargazing, and it just so happened that Kaisercraft released the Stargazer collection, which I just fell in love with. Just so appropriate for me. Like, some things are meant to be. So I gave in, and I bought the papers, I bought the stencil, I bought the stamp, and so I'm using the stencil right here with my Inka Gold, and I am applying it with my spatula, and look for the reveal. How beautiful is this? Although I will tell you something that happened, that I noticed happening as I was doing this. I'll tell you in a minute. So I'm gonna make it seem like the stars are coming in across the page, and that she's also being tilted on an angle as well. Here is the stamp set, the Stargazer. Love the stamp set. I love the quote that says, "You are my sun, my moon, and all of my stars." I thought at first that I wanted to stamp it up in the top corner, but it didn't feel right. I thought maybe at the bottom left corner, and once again, I wasn't so confident in heat embossing it with white embossing powder. I thought somehow that I was going to stuff it up, so I thought I would stamp it just on smooth cardstock, cut out each single word, and collage it to the background, and I actually like how it turned out. So I'm just adding my PVA glue now to each and every single word, and then I'm going to glue her as well. As I was gluing her, I realized that the Inca Gold stars were just peeling right up. You'll see here that I'm going to note, as I put her down, I noticed that one of the star peels up. And so I put it down with some PVA glue, and then I attach her, and then another star just peels right up, like doesn't crumble, but just peels right up. I'm not sure. There must be something to do with the ingredients in the Inca Gold reacting with watercolor background. So what I end up doing is I reach for my gel medium and my spatula, and I'm just going to add a layer of gel medium on top of all the gold stars so that they don't move as this journal gets used. We're only in May. I can just imagine September comes and all my gold stars fall off. So I am happy just adding that light clear layer of matte medium. Here comes her little string for her balloon. I'm just using a black ballpoint pen, and it's on an angle because she's being dragged up, and I love how it looks. It looks like she comes from a really small center and explodes outwards into the atmosphere and into the galaxy, like she just exploded out of Earth, wanted to get away, and is just finding her own peace and quiet and joy up there in that galaxy. I'm just going around each of the words now with some black ink, and it looks really nice just framing them with black. Alrighty, and this page is done. Look how beautiful it looks. I love the quote. It is so appropriate. "You are my sun, my moon, and all of my stars," by Edward E.E.Cummings. Really beautiful. I love the stars. I love the really pure gold of the Inca Gold. It's so gorgeous. And that little gorgeous girl, she's so pretty. I love her. I really am proud of that galaxy background as well. So here's how my book is looking so far. It's so amazing. I'm so happy to be bringing you May. Can't wait to bring you June. Don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm sure it's going to be really wonderful as well. I'll think of a technique that I can share with you. So in the meantime, you guys, try galaxy backgrounds. They're the funnest. They're the most relaxing to make. Imagine using a whole lot of different colors, pinks and greens and blues. So amazing. I'm going to leave you now. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video.